In Generation 7, Ultra Beasts came out, and they are very interesting. They are weird looking Pokemons or Ultra Beasts from weird dimensions. And all of them have a very interesting or some sort of weird design that isn't really regular for a lot of Pokemons. But there are a ton of Pokemons that I would say look a lot like Ultra Beasts, and Pokemon that could be Ultra Beasts. And Ultra Beasts, they look very interesting, have a lot of lore to them, and come from a world that we don't know a lot about. So I wanted to talk about Pokemons that could be Ultra Beast. Obviously they aren't, but I feel like they would have had a chance to become one of the Ultra Beasts. One of these Pokemons is one of the first Pokemons from Generation 1. We have Venonat. Venonat looks really weird. It doesn't look like any bug that I've seen, or any bug that I know of. It's just a round ball with weird eyes. And in my opinion, it looks a lot like it could be an Ultra Beast. I think it fits in perfectly with the Ultra Beasts. I also feel like the Tentacruel line looks like they are Ultra Beast or some sort of. I feel like Venonat looks more like an Ultra Beast, but Tentacruel still looks a lot like it could be an Ultra Beast. Especially Tentacool. It looks so weird and really interesting. I never really understood it. And it looks extremely ugly as well. And at first I thought the eyes were the red round things, but they're not. Which is also really surprising. But the Pokemon from Generation 1 that I feel like look the most like an Ultra Beast is Starmie. Staryu and Starmie doesn't have any eyes, and it is from space. And when we look at the Mega Evolution, it looks even more like an Ultra Beast. So in my opinion, Starmie is basically already an Ultra Beast. It obviously isn't, but they could put it in there, say it's an Ultra Beast, and I would believe it. I think it would be really cool if it was an Ultra Beast that came out of the Ultra wormhole and then started existing in the regular world and then started becoming more and more like a normal Pokemon. And then because of evolution, it started changing into an actual Pokemon. But Starmie is just basically an Ultra Beast. One of the most interesting and unknown Pokemon is Unknown. Unknown looks so much like an Ultra Beast. I wish it was an Ultra Beast. It's one of the Pokemons that I feel like should be an Ultra Beast. It is so interesting and so cool, and we don't know a lot about it. I just feel like it is perfect as an Ultra Beast. And it definitely could be an Ultra Beast. Or more like it should be an Ultra Beast. Unknown is such an interesting Pokemon. We do also have other Pokemons like Fortress, Ferrothorn, Klinklang, Aegislash, and like Sigilith, that I all feel like have a little bit of a similar type of Pokemon vibe, and all could be an Ultra Beast. All have a very interesting and weird design, where I feel like a lot of them you can't really tell what they really are. Like what even is Fortress, for example? Fortress just looks like an Ultra Beast. It fits in with all of the Ultra Beasts, as well as Ferrothorn and the others. I feel like they all could be Ultra Beasts, and they definitely have the looks to be Ultra Beasts. The Ultra Beasts have very interesting bug types, and they look really cool and weird. And there's a lot of bug types that I feel like fit this. We have Rabsca, Golisopod, and even Genesect. Rabsca looks perfect as an Ultra Beast. Like, what is this weird looking ball that it has and that it controls? That looks like something an Ultra Beast would have, and it also just in general looks like a really weird looking Pokemon. And Golisopod was released in the same generation, and it looks very similar. It looks so cool, but also really similar to the Ultra Beasts. You could sneak it in there and I would not notice. I do feel like a lot of bug types would fit it because a lot of bug types do look weird, but I still think Golisopod is one of the most perfect ones. Like, I could not see a Araquanid be an Ultra Beast. It looks way more like a Pokemon. But Golisopod looks a lot like an Ultra Beast and could definitely be an Ultra Beast. And Genesect is obviously a bug type in some sort of armor. And it looks extremely cool, extremely interesting, and so much like an Ultra Beast. Maybe it looks a little bit more like a Paradox Pokemon, but I still feel like Genesect looks a lot like an Ultra Beast as well and could be an Ultra Beast. I love Genesect a lot, and it being a mythical Pokemon works as well. And the lore with Genesect is so interesting that it's an ancient cybernetic bug steel type. And it was resurrected after so many years, which I think is really cool. Obviously it was added with technology, but if it had some of the technology, it's so interesting that it's so old, which makes it even more seem like it could be an Ultra Beast. Since we didn't have that type of technology, it could definitely be an Ultra Beast. Basically got the technology from being an Ultra Beast. Not all of it, of course. Like, the cannon was added by scientists. But then we have the most interesting bug type of them all, Shedinja. And maybe Ninjask, but definitely Shedinja. Whoa. The whole line looks really interesting and it's really cool and it's really weird. But Ninkata and Ninjask still looks like they are regular bug types. Obviously they look weird, but a lot of bug types do look weird. But Shedinja both looks weird and has so interesting lore that it works so well as an Ultra Beast. And could definitely be an Ultra Beast. But then of course the others would have to be Ultra Beast as well. But the whole idea with Shedinja, how it comes into life and how it works, is so Ultra Beast like, or so Ultra Beast vibes. Shedinja's lore is perfect and could definitely be an Ultra Beast. I do of course have some honorable mentions, like any of the Paradox mons. Because they're already Paradox Pokemons, I didn't want to include them in the entire list, but I still wanted to give an honorable mention to them. We also have Orbeetle, which is a very interesting looking bug type. We have the Gen 8 fossils. They're here because they are fossils. If they weren't fossils, they would definitely be in the list. But obviously they are fossils and did not look like that before, it's just weirdly made when they resurrected the fossils. The Regis are also really weird and look like they could be Ultra Beasts, but again, these guys are legendaries and have their own lore and have their own whole thing with all of the Regis, which I feel like is more of an honorable mention. Another random Pokemon is Grafaiai. I feel like Grafaiai has the vibes to it, but also doesn't look enough to be in the list, but I still wanted to give it an honorable mention. And then we have Silvally and the Porygon line, which are both human-made. I did think of including Mewtwo, but I don't think Mewtwo looks a lot like it could be an Ultra Beast. But definitely Silvally and the Porygon line. But because they're man-made, I feel like their lore makes more sense with the man-made vibe. Doesn't really fit that much as an Ultra Beast. Obviously it's a little bit similar to Genesect, but I would say because they're completely man-made, they couldn't be Ultra Beasts. But other than that, I could definitely see them be Ultra Beast, which I think would be so cool. And if there is a Pokemon that would fit there, it would be Porygon or Silvally. They would be perfect in Ultra Space. If you watched it far, please feel free to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. You can also join my Discord server and follow me on Twitch, link in the bio. I'm trying to do a lot with my Discord server, so please feel free to join. I would love to have you there. But thank you all for 200 subscribers. I'm very thankful for that. I'm so happy that I finally got 200 subscribers. That means the next goal is of course 300. Some more regular Pokemons that I feel like could be Ultra Beasts are of course Reuniclus, Malamar, and Glimmora. If we first talk about the Reuniclus, it looks extremely weird and I don't really understand what it is. And I feel like it could definitely be an Ultra Beast just based on looks. But it's mostly because it looks weird, because of this green stuff that it has. Other than that, I feel like it looks a lot like a regular Pokemon, but I still don't really understand what it is, so I could definitely see it as an Ultra Beast. And then we have Malamar, who has extremely interesting and scary lore, which I think is so cool and interesting and would definitely fit as an Ultra Beast. Having this Ultra Beast that controls people and people's mind, and with the whole Mega Evolution, man, that's an Ultra Beast. Or at least a Pokemon from space. But that is basically Ultra Beasts. And then we have Glimmora, who just looks so weird and just reminds me of a lot of the Ultra Beasts. It does have eyes, but you can't really see them, and with the Mega Evolution again, it looks really interesting and really weird and could definitely be an Ultra Beast. I think Glimmora is one of the most surprising ones. Obviously they wouldn't add more Ultra Beasts, but I feel like it could definitely be one. And I would love if there was some lore with it coming from Ultra Wormholes. But it definitely looks like an Ultra Beast. Like I said, Pokemon from space are basically Ultra Beasts. For example, Deoxys, Behem, and Minior could all be Ultra Beasts. I'm not gonna talk too much about Deoxys, but it is a mythical and it's really interesting. It has really interesting lore that I feel like fits well as an Ultra Beast, but because it's more of a mythical and is a lot connected with space and is obviously based on some sort of alien looking creature. With that, I feel like it still definitely could be an Ultra Beast and fits so well as an Ultra Beast. Then we have Behem, which is just a really interesting Pokemon, and I've talked about it in a lot of videos because I really like it and it deserves a lot more, and it has fit a lot of my videos. And definitely this one. Behem in the anime was so interesting and so cool, and just the whole lore with it. It looks a little little bit like it could be an Ultra Beast, but not that much. But I just feel the whole vibe with it and just what it is and that it is from space, that it could definitely be an Ultra Beast. And it still does look like it could be an Ultra Beast. And Minior, of course, which is a Pokemon that obviously isn't Ultra Beast because it is from space and it is from the same region and there were already a lot of Ultra Beasts. But Minior could definitely be an Ultra Beast. Having a Pokemon that is basically a star being from the Ultra Wormholes makes a lot of sense. It does feel weird that there are Pokemons that are stars that are up in space. It would make way more sense if it was in the Ultra Wormholes and came from there. But space Pokemons aren't the only ones that could be Ultra Beasts, like we've talked about. We also have Cryogonal, which I feel like is such an interesting Pokemon and it's really slept on. It looks really weird and we don't know a lot about it. Cryogonal could definitely be an Ultra Beast and looks like an Ultra Beast. We also have Reverum, which is really interesting. It only has its one eye, but it looks so interesting. We still don't know that much about it. How is it poison? How is it living? All of that is so interesting. And it feels like an Ultra Beast just based out of that. And it looks like an Ultra Beast as well. So it could definitely be an Ultra Beast. Then we have another Pokemon that I've mentioned in a few of my other videos. Playdol. Playdol is one of the most perfect looking Pokemon that could be an Ultra Beast. It fits in perfectly with the Ultra Beast. I could probably show this to someone with some other Ultra Beast and they would believe me. Or after they saw some of the Ultra Beast and saw some regular Pokemons, I would not be surprised if they guessed that it was an Ultra Beast. And the same goes for Dhelmise, which I think is stupid that it's not an Ultra Beast. It's from the same region and I don't know why they created this Pokemon and thought this is not gonna be an Ultra Beast. I could understand it with Golisopod and Minior, but Dhelmise? What? What do you mean? Dhelmise is perfect and could definitely be an Ultra Beast. And the same with Claydol, they both should be Ultra Beasts. And they both are so interesting and weird looking and have interesting lore. They definitely could and should be Ultra Beasts. But the final Pokemon that I'm gonna talk about that should be an Ultra Beast, and I'm so surprised it's not even more than Dhelmise, is Melmetal. And of course Meltan. Why are they not Ultra Beasts? I feel like they're trying to imply that they are some form of Ultra Beasts or some kind of Ultra Beast. But they're known as mythical Pokemons that we don't know a lot about or where they're from. And I definitely think it should just be known as an Ultra Beast. It's basically an Ultra Beast. The lore is perfect. Everything about it is perfect. And I think it's so surprising that it's not an Ultra Beast. They should have just called it an Ultra Beast. I feel like it's a crime to not call Melmetal an Ultra Beast. It should be an Ultra Beast. And it looks like it feels like it seems like it, the lore seems like it. It's just perfect. I definitely think Melmetal is a scrapped Ultra Beast that I then later think they really liked and add on later as a mythical Pokemon. But I'm so surprised it's not an Ultra Beast. And it should definitely be one and could definitely be one. It is also extremely cool. But okay, that's all Pokemons that I feel like could be Ultra Beasts. Please let me know in the comments if you disagree on any of this and if you have any other Pokemon you would say could be Ultra Beasts. I definitely think we should get more Ultra Beasts and maybe add some lore to old Pokemons. Maybe some sort of backstory of them coming from the Ultra Wormholes. And then because of evolution or something like that, becoming Pokemons. But I definitely think it's interesting and I think all of these Pokemons could be Ultra Beasts. But other than that, I have a video right here about Pokemon needing a rework. Because we definitely need a Pokemon rework just to the whole franchise. So I hope to see you guys there or in another video. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch and join my Discord server in the bio. And I'll see you guys in the next one. So have a great rest of your night, day, morning, or wherever. Peace out and don't forget to follow.